morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mohana from Star Media Group, and I'm very pleased to be your MC for today's session. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning into our ESG Advocates Circle webinar titled Renewable Energy, which focuses on FGV Holdings Berhad's sustainable practices in renewable energy, which includes self-sufficient meals and effective waste management in its ecosystem. We will also share some insights on how renewable energy initiatives can bring about positive environmental and social impacts. This webinar is jointly organized by Star Media Group and our Academy sponsor, FGV Holdings, and is currently being streamed live on our Star and Starbee's Facebook pages. Do share the Star's FB Live link with your colleagues or peers who are keen to join as well. Before we begin, here are a few quick housekeeping matters to observe. As much as we strive to provide top-notch production for all our online events, some things are beyond our control. So do bear with us in the event that we experience any technical difficulties, and I thank you in advance for your patience. And if you have questions for our panelists, here's how you can send them in. For Zoom viewers, you can post it in the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. For viewers on Facebook, you may post it in the comment section. And our mission today is to provide you, our audience, with insights and information on the pivotal role of plantation companies in achieving national environmental goals, their contributions to comprehensive ESG efforts. Discover their adoption of decarbonization strategies, the potential of oil palm biomass in various initiatives, and the dynamic landscape of renewable energy, especially within the new National Energy Transition Roadmap, the NETR framework. Joining us for today's panel discussion are 4 industry leaders and advocates of sustainability in discussing how companies can make their transition to renewable energy. Our 3 panelists this morning are CHM Muhammad Fazil bin Muhammad Saad, Head of Bioenergy at FGV Palm Industries, Sdn Berhad. He has over 19 years of experience, and Muhammad Fazil is a visionary leader, overseeing operations and championing award-winning renewable energy projects, including the world's first palm oil biocompressed natural gas project. Next, we have Engineer TS Dr. Gideon Tan Xiang Yi, Head of Transformation Management Office, FGV Holdings Berhad. Throughout his time in FGV, he gained a comprehensive understanding of how the company can make significant contributions to national and international greenhouse gas emissions. Sustainability has transformed from just being a buzzword to him into a tangible concept that can be translated into actionable plans and projects. Our 3rd panelist represents Monash University. Dr. Joseph Ho Yong Quen, Senior Lecturer at the university, leads the Computational Biomass and Biopolymer Engineering Research Group. His research focuses on developing computational models for biomass polymer processing, collaborating with institutions worldwide, and PhD graduates from his research groups are currently employed in the industry and in the US. We also have the pleasure of hosting Dr. Loh Soh Kiang, Head of the Energy and Environment Unit at the Malaysian Palm Oil Board, MPOB, as the moderator for today's discussion. Dr. Loh is a distinguished scientist and editor with expertise in biomass, bioenergy, and biorefinery. With a PhD in inorganic chemistry, she is recognized as one of Stanford University's top scientists and a recipient of the Top Research Scientist Malaysia Awards in 2016. We are delighted to have these esteemed speakers for the panel discussion. But before we kick off on this, we will have a short presentation or a case study by Dr. Loh, Cik Muhammad Fazil, and Dr. Ho to warm things up a little and provide more context for the main panel topic today. With that, I would like to hand the session over to our panelists and moderator, Dr. Loh Soh Kiang. Dr. Loh, the floor is yours. Looking forward to a great session.
Thank you, Ms. Mohana, for the kind introductions. So hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Loh from MPOB, the moderator of today's webinar focusing on renewable energy, particularly in using a palm bioresource. To begin with, I would just like to emphasize that yes, climate change is real, and thus the associated issue that we always heard about is like global warming, severe weather patterns, GHG emissions, and thus the need for carbon and water footprints study and also life cycle analysis. There are many ways to actually mitigate climate change. One of them is through renewable energy deployments. Exploiting of biomass as a renewable energy source for decarbonization effort has been aggressively pursued globally in combating climate change, as set forth under the Paris Agreement in 2015, which actually outlined 1.5 degrees temperature drops above pre-industrial level. So since 2020, all national climate action plans targeting GHG reduction were translated to National Determined Contribution (NDC), aiming to actually achieve the Sustainable Development Goals (SDG). Now, in responding to the above in 2021, the Malaysian Renewable Energy Roadmap (MYRE) was launched, setting a target of 31% renewable energy target in the national energy mix by 2025 and increase to 40% by 2035. Under this roadmap, the target is actually to reduce coal-fired power generation, and renewables such as biogas and biomass and natural gas are expected to have an increasing role in primary energy supply share. As such, the potential of palm biomass is undeniable. In the same year, Malaysia has also increased its mitigation ambitions with an unconditional target to cut carbon intensity against GDP by 45% by 2030, compared to 2005 level. In March 2022, the National Agri-Commodity Policy, DAKN 2030, was launched by our ministry, and this launch was to actually spearhead agri-commodity growth and development, including the biomass and biofuel, as stipulated under the Chapter 9 and Chapter 10 of the document. Recently, in August 2023, the National Energy Transition Roadmap further charts the nation towards a more resilient future with a new target, a very ambitious target of 70% RE renewable energy share by 2050. So how to go about doing this? In this particular roadmap, collectively, solar, hydro, bioenergy, including biogas and biomass, actually contribute to 23% by 2050, compared to currently just a mere about 4% of renewables in the country. Having said that, can I go to the next slide? Having said that, the MC, can I please go to the next slide? Yeah. Okay, having said that, you can see from these slides, actually it explains how the oil palm biomass can be actually converted to many different products besides renewable energy. So valorization of oil palm biomass into various applications does not restrict to just bioenergy production. In this case, resource recovery, optimization and diversification and technology integration is actually key into many potential areas, which I term them as 4F and 1C. The 4F include food, feed, fiber, and fuel, and the 1C is actually the chemicals. So I would like to just conclude here that there's no one-size-fits-all solution in doing renewable energy deployment. Resource diversification, and technology integration are the key to successful biomass deployments. With that, please cross the slides. So to begin this panel discussion, I would like to actually invite Encik Fazil from the FGV Palm Industries. He's a chemist, so he's going to share us insight on associated with FGV's initiative in the form of a case studies. So with that, Encik Fazil, you have 20 minutes, please.
All right. Okay, so thank you to Dr. Loh for the very kind introduction, and also I'm very happy to be here to together with Dr. Gideon to share what our hard work, what we've been doing, and also from the past years and so until now. So I'm delighted to be here. And also before I start the session, I would like to congratulate Dr. Loh for the, she already been recognized as the world's top 2% scientist by Stanford University. That is one of a kind achievement. So I would like to congratulate her for the achievement. All right. Okay. So I think I want to start the session now. Okay. Just like the Malay who say, tak kenal maka tak cinta. So I would like to begin the presentation with what FGV is in overview. I think as Malaysians, I think you are very familiar with FGV because we have been in, I mean, it's a national GLC company. It's been here for a long time. So it's that, but to share a bit more about us. So let me start. Okay, so first, all in all, we are a palm oil plantation company, agribusiness, in which we have several segments: upstream, downstream, R&D, marketing and trading, and also renewable energy in our value chain. So in total, we manage about 219 estates in our plantation, with a total of more than 400,000 hectares belong to FGV. And if you add the land hectarage from Felda, so you are more or less you can have about like close to 1 million hectares of land managed by Felda and also FGV. So it's a very substantial land bank. Okay, so from there we have 67 mills operating in Malaysia, Sabah, and Sarawak. And about 90% of that is MSPU and 45% is RSPO certified, and we are moving towards 100% compliance to RSPO as well. And we process about 13 million ton of fresh bunches every year, and most of it coming from three sources lah. That is predominantly from Felda settlers, and also we have our plantation, the FGV, coming from that 400,000 hectares of land, and also others we buy from others lah, the third-party smallholders. And from there, we produce about 2.6, 2.7 million ton of CPO yearly, and also from there is 70% traded. So we have various activities also downstream, which is we have the refining capacity, rubber processing, kernel crushing plant, and also etc. We also have a biodiesel plant. And so moving to R&D, we are the #1 oil palm germinated seed producer in Malaysia with I think it's more than 43% market share as of now. And we also, if I don't think that a lot of people know, but we are the leading fertilizer manufacturer with 700,000 ton of annual production capacities. And so as you can see here, there's a lot of brands that we have in the market, available in the market. And so we also have a very strong R&D segment in which we have purpose more than 12,000 hectares of oil palm plantation for R&D purposes. So moving on to consumer product, I think everybody knows that Saji is a very well-known brand. It's more than, I think as of now, more than 42% market share. So I think most of you have one bottle of cooking oil, Saji cooking oil in your house. Okay, and also we have others product as well, margarines, and also various brands such as Adila, Premio, and such. And also we are very highly represented. If you go to the shopping mall, or you go to the Jaya Grocer or Village, so you can see there's a lot of our products here. And so we have also venturing into integrated farming, in which we hit the call of government for food security measures, such that we starting to look into animal feed and nutritional products. We also have a poultry. We also have our own paddy and rice, and food and cash crop. Okay, so let me go to the next slide. Okay, as you can see the arrow. Yeah? Okay, please go to the next slide. Okay, also, sorry, there's a slide before that. Okay. Okay, so we also have a sugar business in which MSM is majority owned by us. It's among one of the largest sugar refiners in the world with a dominant market share. And we also have other business as well, such as logistic and others, in which we have bulking facilities, about 1 million ton of storage capacity, and also we have fleets of more than 550 units of trucks all over the country, sending and receiving crude palm oil and palm kernels. And also, all in all, FGV is a Malaysia-based agribusiness. We are listed in the Bursa Malaysia in 2012 and supported by a strong workforce of more than 50,000 people. All right. So, can go to the next slide. Okay, so I think not a lot of people know about biomass or I mean it's like a secondary products that coming from palm oil fresh fruit bunches lah. I think this is one of the perspective that I want to share with you guys. So is that Malaysian palm industry we have is huge in Malaysia. I think the palm oil. I mean it's like we are the second CPO producer in the world, only after Indonesia. So is that understandably we also have a lot of biomass because of we have the very strong industry in Malaysia. So more or less estimated about 70 to 18 million tons of biomass yearly is available, and also there's a huge potential to be leveraged. Okay, so from here, in the middle there, if you're familiar with palm oil industry, so you know that that is the fresh fruit bunches that we harvested from the our palm trees in the plantation. So from there, it's going to send to the mill for processing. From there, we can get the main product is crude oil, kernel, and also fruitlets. And from there, it's branched out into the topics that we're going to discuss today. That is the main products. The main products of biomass. Okay, starting with palm kernel shell. This is one of the hottest commodities as of now. We've sell it to local and overseas market, in which you can fetch a good price. And also for application, you can go for palm shell activated carbon. All right. From the second is empty fruit bunch. This is also one of the byproduct from the mill processing. So from this empty fruit bunch is like a lignocellulosic material. So it can, if you more of the base application is just mulching or send it back to the field for biomass retention. But if you can also process it even further for EAB pellets, you can produce EAB pellets from that for fuel. You can go also further up, torrefied pellets, in which is a battery CV and mixed with coal and power plant. And also even further, I think it's also one of the area that Dr. Ho is kind of interested in, which is lignocellulosic treatment to fermentation, and it produces monomers for bioplastic and biochemicals. And other than that, we can also do composting for the this empty fruit bunches, and in which we can go for high value product, that is a fortified organic fertilizer. And also we have mesocarp fiber, but this is mainly we use in the mill to provide the circularity of the waste that we have in the mill. We use it back. So the mill is essentially an island. It's a power island. We produce our own electricity. We don't need the electricity from national grid. Okay, and also the lastly, which is also very interesting, is that we have a palm oil mill effluent. It is about 65 to 80% of the weight if compared to the total fresh fruit bunches this process. So it has a very huge volume we need to be treated. So from there we can harvest the sludge palm oil, which is like a secondary oil, but this oil is not for food application. So but it can be used for feedstock for sustainable aviation fuel, in which there's a lot of buyers that are looking for this kind of source. It's more like similar to UCO, used cooking oil. And so from there, from the palm oil effluent, there's a very high strength feedstock. So it's that in terms, you can harvest the biogas from the anaerobic digestion step. So from there, this biogas, you can either go to two pathways that is recognized as of now. First is the electrical power. You can convert the biogas into electrical power and send it, either you use it at your own site or you sell it to the grid. And the second is you can have this biocompressed natural gas, in which is, I will explain further. So it's essentially a natural gas, but from a renewable source. Okay, so next. Okay, just to familiarize yourself with what is our journey as from the beginning of time until as of now. So I think this is something that it be interesting to share as well. So to see the journey that we have taken to come to what we really are right now. So Just back in the 90s and the early 2000, we have started R&D collaboration with MPOB. So we designed and built a patented EFB processing equipment. So our collaboration with MPOB has started very long. And also we consider POB as our very close partner, which we work on so many things together. And so early in that point of time, also the board for at that time we are still at FGV Holdings. They approved the first ever AFB based power plant in Sahabat complex in 2002. So the Sahabat power plant is in continuous operation from 2005 until now. It is, I think, this is the first clean development mechanism project in Malaysia. It's been recognized. Okay, so we go on to in the space of 2008 to 2012. So at that time, CDM is strongly promoted for biogas capture, and as such, we built more biogas plant in our mills. So we also go into composting, in which EFB compost facility we installed for internal consumption. So we utilize POME. That's also eligible for CDM markets. But unfortunately, if we go until the end of 2011, as you're aware also, the CR market collapsed due to low interest from the developed countries to buy. And also the price is not sustainable anymore. So we switch our direction to, and at that time also SEDA is created, and the feed-in tariff is established. Mechanism in which it allows you to sell electricity from your source, whether you are solar or you are biogas or your biomass, to a national grid, and it's because in Malaysia we only have one national grid that is taken care by TNB, so you are essentially selling your electricity to TNB lah. And so it's potentially a revenue generating endeavor. With that, we are switching away from CDM. And as of in this period of time, we continue to build more biogas project in mills, and also we have evolved from depending on the EPCC. So we've gone through our own produce and also go into the our own design, such as we increase the reactor capacity for these particular mills, more than 45,000 meter cube, and also the gas generation more than 1,000 meter cube per hour. So at this juncture also, we have successfully operated Seting Hilir Biogas Plant, which is this is one of the first biogas to grid project in Malaysia. And also in moving forward until as of now, we also have a new biogas power plant in Kriang and Kratung 9, which is even larger than what we have installed before. Okay, so moving forward to 2012 and 2017. So as of now, the current numbers is 23 biogas power plant from our 67 mills. And also we are proud to share that this is the first foray into bio-CNG, biocompressed natural gas, in which we have a strategic collaboration with MPOB and Sosandabi, and it's been operational since 2017. And also at this time, at point of juncture also, we have come into a directive that the mills is to be fitted with biogas capture by, I think this is still a guideline, but it's also a must if you want to upgrade your mill or you want to build a new mill. So you must have your carbon methane capture plant in your mills. So it's kind of like a challenge to farmer industries as of now. And we also have just the latest plant we have is Kratung 9, Kratung 9 is FIT. It's a 2 meg power plant. It's already been successfully operated. And so moving forward from now until future, we are considering a lot of projects to complement and also to add our in our portfolio. That is we also considering solar, in which we are going for NEM. For FGV and FGV buildings and complex, which I think the most common practice also by other companies as well. And we are now intensifying our effort to utilize EFB, and also we're going for pellet for fuel potential, because we've seen in Japan they already recognize EFB, empty fruit bunch, as one of the biomass that can be allowed to export to Japan. And also we also see the potential for clustering of mills, in which we do the exercise to stockpile the feedstock. And also we are also working closely with Felda to rebrand the towns using RE source in Sabah, in which is in Desa Kencana, Cenderawasih and Umas, and we use mostly is depending on renewable energy to power up the community. And so we also look into other end user byproduct, which is the fortified organic fertilizer. All right. Next, if you may, the next slide. Okay, so this is an overview of the projects that we have done to utilize our biomass also to reduce our carbon emission. So the first is proud to share we have the world's first pump-based biocompressed natural gas in Sungai Tinggi. Just a short drive from KL. So it's a collaborative project that we have with MPOB, and until now I'm so grateful with MPOB because we have launched this very successful venture together. And also from here, we already proved that biocompressed natural gas is a viable alternative to rather than you install a biogas plant and inject it to the grid. So that's the proven operation and also business case. And the second is we have about total of 38 plants, including external investment. That is the most number of biogas plant in the single plantation company in the world, I think. And also from there, we try to utilize the gas, and also from we have two categories. First is the rural electrification, in which as example there is in Umas in Tawau, in which the particular area for FEDA settlers, they don't have access to the grid. And so we power up the community with 1.2 megawatt biogas plant, and is considered as a rural electrification project. And second one is we have also a feed in tariff project in which we produce electricity and connect it into the grid. So it's with the combine of 8.8 megawatt capacity, and one of the you see now is the one of our project in Nita in Mersing. And also, one of the, as I've shared before, we have a biogas cogen power plant. This plant in particular is situated in Sahabat. Felda Sahabat is in nearby Lahad Datu. So it's a big complex. We have about 7 mills over there. And also, for Felda Sahabat in Lahad Datu, we generate electricity for about 7 megawatt to the local area. So it's currently utilized by industry, in which we have KCP, kernel crushing plant, and also refinery. And also we supply to the local population through FIC, Federal Investment Corporation, which is they are the utility provider over there. And also the projects that we have monitored all over, it can potentially contribute to more than 100,000 tons CO2 equivalent every year. I mean, we also have some other initiative that register this carbon emission reduction, but I think part of it coming from our own renewable energy projects. Okay, next. Okay, this is something that we really want to share as from our experience as well. So in particular with palm oil plantation players, if you have, for the ranking of economic opportunities, if you want to really want to exploit and also utilize your own resources. So what we, more or less have now is that we segmentize it into projects or areas that you easier to execute, or is going through the arrow is that is a much more complex and concerted execution. And the first is that you have, if you're a palm oil mill, so you have the palm kernel shell, also slash palm oil, in which is readily available. You don't have to incur any capex. You just can straight away sell to the any parties that are offering the best price. And then you move to the bioenergy, in which the involve a significant investment. But also for this kind of project such as biogas, you also can upgrade your effluent treatment plant, plus you can lower your carbon footprint. Okay, so economic opportunity is available if you go for, say, like FIT project, or you can go biomethane. So there's such an IRA for that. And also you can also consider going for biofertilizer and composting, in which is provide the circularity of your plantation operation, in which the compost produced by the mill can be sent back to the field for application, and so you can reduce the usage of inorganic fertilizer in your plantation. And so moving to the last, I think biochemical, in which I think is also related to the whole sphere of study, in which is a bit of a long term, a bit stretch because we're still monitoring this availability of technology. That one of the things that we are looking at, because it's really a long term, kind of like a visionary as of now. Huge opportunity, also ready market for lignocellulosic based biochemical, but it involves a very high capex, also need high volume of feedstock. So one of the things that needs to be considered before you venture into this. And as of now, I think there's no large-scale biochemical using pump-based biomass as of now. All right. Next. Okay, so just to deliberate a bit on the challenges faced by the middle of project developers, also off-takers, to maximize the utilization from our secondary products coming from the mill. Okay, so the first thing I want to divide is the one portion here is something that you can control, but this is the factors that you actually very difficult to control. Okay, first is that very important for you to have a high mill utilization. Okay, because production of secondary products is totally dependent of the volume of the FFB process. So low mill UF is disadvantageous to the mill because of it's have a low bargaining power lah, because all of these buyers, if they want to buy pump condenser share or whatever, they always search for big mills. Okay, and also if you want to go for say like a FIT project by gas to FIT electricity, is a bit of problematic because you have the scale, so you maybe can inject less than 1 megawatt. Okay, which is I think doesn't look really good if you run the financial. Okay, the second is of course the mill consistency, in which if you have a frequent breakdown or stoppage, it will decrease the production consistency lah. Okay, but move to the right side is where it gets even trickier. If your mill location is far and a poor access road, so the effective evacuation of the products that you have at the mills lah. Also, it is more or less it is less desirable for connectivity to the grid. And so if the mill is closer to port area, it's a bit unfortunate because there's the mills that most of the buyers will come to and buy. And lastly is the market force, something that also we couldn't control, especially for the byproducts or secondary product you have in the mills. For the PKS and SPO, the price is often dictated with external buyers. It is always demand on the supply and demand. It's more or less reflective on the commodity. Okay. All right. Most of the factors are, intertwined and also affecting each other. So mill, as a mill, you need to manage and also all the controllable factors in which you decide to maximize the evacuation and selling of the available secondary products. Next. Okay, I think this is the last slide that I want to share. So from our experience as of now, the key takeaways to ensure the success of bioenergy is like, the first thing is very important is the pre-processing of feedstock, especially critical in EFB, in the empty fruit bunch. It's very tough to work, and also you have to really do some pre-processing to make it available for next kind of what kind of technology they want to use to convert, because from EIP you can do so many things. You can do composting, you can do biochemicals, you can do pellets, or you can do biofuel as well. And the pre-processing needs to be at the mill to reduce the transport cost and so prepare for the next stage of treatment, and which it can further enhance its value. All right. So, and the second is the higher volume, higher price. It's a very basic economics. So price is driven by demand, demand driven by market, and market driven by policy. Because I think it's particularly true for in PKS market because of there's already a high demand from Japan. To I know they buy a lot of PKS from Malaysia and Indonesia. So it's particularly it's because of their push for decarbonization, because they also want to move away from natural gas and coal. And so cost-effective conversion technology are available. So for torrefaction and biochemical, in which is a very interesting area that we are currently focusing at. And also lastly is the certification, in which is a very prominent issue as of now, because it's particularly very important for Japan market actually, and also for Europe, because you need to be certified to ensure that you have your value chain is secured and also can be traceable. So as a producer, such as FGV, we must participate in the certification in which we are doing now. And also we have access to better market also of takers. All right, so as I just want to conclude, biomass and particularly bioenergy should strive for a larger piece of decarbonization agenda, meaning for electrification or you could go to biofuels. But I think we have to be also mindful of our limitation. That is, and overall we must improve in order to enhance our competitiveness. And also there's always talks about how to leverage and also utilize all these biomass available in the plantation and also mills. But the key is like what I've mentioned before, how to mobilize, and also there's other factors to lessen the cost, and also to the volume, also something to be looked at if you want to go to further enhance the value of our biomass. All right, by then I think I stop here, and also I will we have a question and answer session later, so I will give back to Dr. Loh for the session.
Thank you, Encik Fazil, for the very clear and insightful presentation. So next, we are going to invite Dr. Ho from the Monash University, which he will actually brief us a little on computational biomass and biopolymer engineering research, something very academia, very different from what Fazil has been presented just now on industrial experiences. So with that, Dr. Ho, the floor is yours. Just a few minutes, right? Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Loh. Thank you for the organizer for having me here in this event here. My name is Joseph and I'm from Monash University. So I'm going to talk about today what my research group is actually doing in Monash University. So as Fazil mentioned just now, there are some low-hanging fruits that we can actually pick in terms of utilizing biomass for renewable energy, but there are also long game plan that we have to play in order to continue to progress in this area in the foreseeable future. So we know that now biomass, there's a lot of different types of biomass that we can use to actually produce valuable products, high value products. But the question now is that when we have different biomass from different sources, when we put them under the same processing condition and we break them down and we process them, we are going to get different variations of the products that we see if we put them under the microscope, for example. Now, this is because of the different structural composition of the biomass particles in general. So it is very critical for us to actually understand how biomass can be broken down, and also whether there are any generalized principles governing the breakdown or the processing of biomass, so that we will be able to fine-tune, we will be able to control, and we can use this knowledge to deal with different types of biomass if we are able to understand them at the very fundamental level. So what we are doing here, I'm trying to go to the next slide. Okay, so the main question here is this: when we look at biomass, when we subject them to mechanical grinding or we just shear them, they are going to exist in the particle scale, for example, like what we see here on the slides. So in the particle scale, we would notice that there are the size and shape is going to be distributed in the sense that there are various size and shapes of the particles at the particle scale when we break them down. But at the same time, if we are able to actually zoom in to the particle itself, we notice that biomass particles are actually made up of polymer molecules, right? So, and the polymer molecules are also distributed in that sense. If you put them under chromatographic techniques, you'll be able to see that there is a molecular weight distribution or the chain length distribution, so-called. So my quest here, or the big picture of our team here, is what happens if we do something to break the bond at the polymer scale? How does this actually translate to what we see on the biomass particle scale. Okay, so that is the main question that we are trying to answer, whether there is any governing principles for their evolution relating these two scales of being a particle and being a polymer. So we do this via what we call computational modeling. Our group specializes in building custom code and writing routines for us to model this process, combined with experiments for us to actually discover new principles that underlie the breakdown of biomass. So this is just one of the examples that we have worked on in the past. In this particular example here, we are trying to study if we have a complicated substrate such as a biomass with cellulosic molecules inside, and we have a bunch of microorganisms that we are trying to ferment. We are trying to use the microbe to actually produce the enzymes to break down the biomass particles into simple sugar. And this simple sugar can then be uptaken by the microbe in order to produce different products. So between these two different components here, firstly, we have biomass, which is very complicated. And on the other hand, we have the microbes. Within the microbe, it's like a mini cell factory. You have a lot of metabolic network inside. And so when the sugar molecule that is being broken down from biomass gets absorbed by the cell, how that sugar molecule is being transported across different metabolic pathway with time, and how the microbe actually regulates its own metabolism in response to complicated environment and the linkage between the outside and the inside of the cell. We do this by incorporating some sort of a genome scale metabolic network in the modeling, cell modeling, and then we use the cellulose model that we have, and we were able to actually predict the release of various products from the cell with time. And so the reason why we are doing this is we wanted to actually understand whether there are any principles that underlie the process, so that we can foresee how we can tune the process in order to produce what we want, right? It's more of a metabolic engineering. So this is just one of the many examples that we have been working on and have worked on. And so that's just a brief presentation of what our group is focused on at Monash University. So thank you, and I'll pass the time back to Dr. Law.
I can't redo my video. Start my video, okay? Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, having heard of the brief introduction by me just now on Malaysia's policy response to climate change, and also FGV's biomass and biogas initiative in waste valorizations to achieve, let's say, biomass circularity, and a bit on Dr. Ho's introduction on more fundamental research regarding biomass structural identification, and also maybe modeling from the engineering aspects. Now, we know that climate change is real, and my first slides also mentioned Malaysia is one of the best country in Southeast Asia in Energy Transitions Index 2023 by the World Economic Forums. So we see that the palm oil industry, a huge industry, is the economic backbone of the industry of Malaysia, actually play a very important and insightful role in realizing all these targets. But now we are not going to actually delve deep into the national level achievement. But here we are more on looking at companies level and also university levels and see how they can contribute, and also what are the issues and challenges faced. So with that, now I will begin with the panel discussion. First, I would like to ask the panels about the first question, which is in the realization of the government's vision, what role can plantation companies play in supporting the nations to achieve its nationally determined contribution, the NDC target, and also fulfilling the SDGs? So this question will be posed to the two panelists from FGV. So with that, maybe we'll start with Dr. Tan.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Loh. So I'll take this question. So to achieve and also to contribute to the nation's NDC, right? I think the first step, what we need to do is actually to have a commitment from the top management. Let's say you have a company, the top management, to which FGV did because we signed up with commitment for SBTi net zero since 2021. So by embedding sustainability into our business model and also focusing on the triple bottom line that we usually mention, the people, profit, and planet. So step one is the commitment. Step two, actually for a company is to actually determine our baseline, because we need to know how much we emit first. So that means conducting a carbon inventory or carbon accounting. So when we do that, there are a lot of standards around. To name a few, the reliable ones, let's say we have SBTi, which is science-based target. We have TCFD, we have IPCC guidelines, GHG protocol, and so on and so forth, including ISO 14064-1. So with all these standards, right, that allows us to actually categorize our GHG emission for the companies. Okay, depending on which standard you use, sometimes they define it as category, sometimes they define it as scopes. But I think most of us will be more familiar with scopes, like the scope 1, 2, and 3, of which scope 1 is direct emission, scope 2 and 3 are indirect one. For a plantation company, if I were to zoom in a little bit, scope 1 emission, which is a direct one, might mean for us, if it's an integrated estate and mill, it might mean the palm oil mill effluent or POME, okay, in the form of methane emission. Also, if you have an estate, it might also mean fertilizers and agrochemicals that is applied in the estate. Also, this might include emissions from diesel genset on site, meaning, when we have estates and mills, most of the time, we are in the interior. So we need, no access probably to the grid. And so we need all this genset to support, including in the mill as well. So for scope 2 emission, might be applicable to site which purchase electricity. Actually, scope 2 covers energy purchase. So I talk only about electricity because most of the mills, they generate their own steam using their boiler. Okay, so the electricity that is for scope 2 probably is for the workers' quarters, for the estate and for the mills, and even for the processing site at times. And for scope 3, it is everything that I didn't mention about in scope 1 and scope 2. Okay, so all covered in scope 3, to put it simply. So this categorization, right, actually allows the company to actually focus on the area with the highest impact, or if you want to put it as Pareto analysis and all that, so we can focus on the 80-20. So for FGV, this is what we do. So we can actually see which one contribute the most and can put most effort in it. And finally, is to conduct initiative and projects to reduce the GHG emission. So by knowing the current state, which is from inventory, and where the commitment is, which I mentioned from the first step, so you only have, then you will have a gap. Okay, then that gap will be fulfilled by, different projects and all that based on evaluation. Okay, so to see that, what effort can be put into this area. So from what my colleague Fazil has been sharing, right? So you can see most of the effort is based on biogas and biomass. So you can see, that's the area that we're currently focusing on. So there are 3 steps, just to reiterate: the commitment, okay, which is the goal, and also the our current state, which is the inventory, and in between there'll be the projects and initiative. Okay, thanks.
Okay, Encik Fazil, you have anything to add? I can't hear you.
Sorry. Okay. I think it's already eloquently addressed by my colleague, Dr.
Okay. Yeah. So I will go to the next question. This is more relevant to Dr. Ho, I think. So in such a circumstance, what role can international and national academic communities play in fostering a more realistic view of the ESG efforts from various perspectives? What kind of educational curriculum needs to be taught to instill confidence and also capability or expertise in university graduates so as to bridge gaps between science and industry? Here I do refer to RDC&I, meaning research, development, commercialization, and also innovations. So Dr. Ho, please.
Thank you, Dr. Loh. So I think firstly, I must say that the research community, I think for the past 30-40 years, I think they have been actively working in this area for a very long time. We can see research going back as far as 1980s. You can see people studying biomass particles and so on. So this is an ongoing process, and I think that, but we seldom talk about it. So that's why not many people know. But what I think here, the international and national academic should do is, firstly, as presented just now by the FGV players, there are a lot of issues that is beyond just the reaction part, right? The part where you actually convert it into biofuel or any other valuable product. There are many things that are just sort of maybe the logistics issue, maybe the supply chain issue. So I think firstly, there should be a bridging the gap. There should be an effort to bridge the gap between the academic or research community and the industry players to actually understand what are the ground issues that is actually happening on the ground, and see that whether there is a way to actually work with it to resolve it. I know that in Monash University, we have some professors who actually just mainly looked at this part of the research problem. We also try to get people from social science. We also try to get people from other disciplines, not just the scientific and the engineering discipline, in order to address the other issues as in promoting the renewable energy from biomass. So this is number one. I think that there should be an effort to bridge the gap. And number two is what I think is somewhat, I mean, I don't want to say that we don't see this, but it's somewhat lacking. This is what I observe, my opinion. This is the fact that there is a lack of synergy between those who do fundamental research and those who actually do translational research. So there is a bit of a lack of a synergy here. So sometimes the people who do the fundamental research, they will just be fixated on their fundamental research, but they don't go outside the box to talk to the people who can actually take the fundamental principles to translate it to a greater good for the economy and for the greater good of a well-being of humankind. So, the third thing is, again, I think that in order to, one of the ways to address this point too is perhaps we need to really think about building the human capacity that has the ability to actually do really fundamental research and yet being able to take this to the translational level. So I give an example. In my experience with the other national labs in the world, for example, in the States, the NREL, the National Renewable Energy Lab. So my friends or the people who I know, they both have the capability to do very detailed fundamental work, but at the same time, they do not lose sight of the bigger picture of being able to industrialize or commercialize those things. So I personally think that in order to bridge this gap, then we have to train people who has this capacity to be able to join them. Because now, so far, I think what we are lacking is we do not have the medium, the people to connect these two effectively. Maybe because there's also a lack of motivation. But if we can train people in the hardcore sciences that is able to do very complicated, for example, computational fluid dynamics modeling, not just by using software packages or calling black boxes, but being able to actually write the code from scratch, understand the science, being able to do this, then they are in a much better place to be able to take this to the application level, because they understand everything. So this is what also our group is trying to do. We don't train people to call black boxes. We train people to understand the math, write the code, complicated code. We are not afraid. So that's the point that I wanted to make. So as far as the university is concerned, if we refer to just the engineering schools or the scientific schools, I think recently there has been a lot of improvement in terms of embedding sustainability concepts into the curriculum. So students are actually exposed right from year one, what are the concepts of sustainability. So this is one thing that is very good. But in my personal opinion, I think that just being able to talk about sustainability is not enough. You also need to have the means to be able to do something to change it, to create the change. So the technical as well as the general, the soft skill side, the broader knowledge, what's happening in the world, what are the initiatives happening, the government, the world, as well as the very sophisticated level of technical control. I feel that that is the way to go forward in order to have a very successful RCD and I in the future. Yeah, that's just my opinion. Thank you, Dr. Loh. Back to you.
Yes, Dr. Ho, you have just rightfully pointed out the lacking of the consolidations, between the university and the industries in doing all this research concerning biomass and biogas and also on renewable energy. So on the one side, there's a lot of all this fundamental research has been actually ongoing in many universities here in Malaysia and also at international level. And on the other side, industries themselves like FGV, they are also having a research center which also do all this kind of research. So hence, there's actually MPOB's assistance is actually kind of to also bridge the gap, you see. So we are actually doing research which we will translate it and commercialize it to our palm oil industries. So in doing all this, I do hope that MPOB we can look into also engage the university in the future research and also the industry as well. So private public partnership here is very important for me. Yeah. So now I would like to pose the third question. What are the decarbonization efforts by FGV that could undertake towards carbon neutrality or net zero carbon target by 2050 as set under the one of the roadmap that I have presented just now? Fazil, you want to answer, or Dr. Tan?
Yeah, I'll do it first.
Okay,
Then I'll
you
pass
do
to
it first.
Fazil.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for the question again. So I like what just now Dr. Ho mentioned, mentioned about the big picture. Okay, so I'm going to take one step back and go to the big picture. So we talk about decarbonization, right? And we always think, okay, renewable energy is the only way. It might not be. It might not be. It is one of the a good way. So when we look at the big picture, right, decarbonization effort in FGV, we talk about roadmaps and things like that. So it can be broken down for me into three parts. First, technical, governance, and the people category. So let me elaborate on all this. First of all, the people category, which is very important. So in order for us to, when we want to talk about decarbonization, one of the effort that we are doing is the mindset. Okay, it's the mindset of the people. Okay, so we encourage improvement efforts throughout our organization by providing awareness and progressively equipping our employee with the improvement methodology. So you might ask, what are those? And the know-hows. So I give you some examples, but not limited to that. It's like Lean Six Sigma, Kaizen, Innovative Creative Circle, so on and so forth. There are so many of them, encouraging people to improve and innovate. Okay, so before that, maybe we look at all these things. We said, okay, that only brings us ROI. That only brings us cost saving, only the financial aspect. But now, you realize many of these things, they also have the green aspect of it. Okay, it also brings down the, when you run your machine more efficiently and all that, actually it brings down the they reduce the carbon emission. That's what I want to say. So because we believe even incremental improvement in our businesses, operational processes can lead to high efficiency, like what I mentioned. So in other words, all this improvement initiative, we don't only consider financial saving, but also the carbon reduction. So that's part one. So on the people. On people side as well, we also believe in having additional criteria like our processes, like, let's say procuring equipments and things like that. Because we believe we also, by looking only at the price is not sufficient. Maybe we should also look at the efficiency of the equipment. So because more efficient equipment actually consume less energy, or maybe I should say optimize the energy. So then provide a better return in the long run, the total cost rather than only the purchase cost. So this will lead to incremental decarbonization effort on our part. That's the second one. So on awareness as well, back to the people one, FGV has also conducted Sustainability Awareness Week. We just have one. So we have talks on improvement methodologies, decarbonization effort by different subsidiaries, and also activities, competitions, to allow the employees to be, is an immersive kind of environment. So when we do this, right, this becomes a platform for us to have knowledge transfer, ideation, so that, when people talk to each other, because we are a big company, so we have many subsidiaries, categories under it. So they can actually cross, like, hey, actually you can do it there. Whatever you do here, I also can do it, things like that. So from all this, right, it provides a healthy competitive environment, and also allows the employee to be engaged in a non-formal way. So it's not more like, I need to check KPI and all that, but this is more like a fun way to learn it. So addition to that effort, right, we also produce a comic book, okay, to illustrate our technical concepts. I don't know if you can see it. Let me try. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we have this, maybe I'll start a little bit. So it's a digital book. We also have the hard copy one just for, our estate workers and all that. So we plan to launch that out also, because all this comics and all this, they provide actually visual aid, also in bilingual and in a relaxed way to communicate what we want for, to align with our company's commitment, which is a net zero, in a universal way, because we can bring this thing to a larger crowd. Because when you talk to people in very technical terms, sometimes they shut down. So we have this way as well, the light side of it, to let people, digest. Also, being a huge corporation, we also understand the importance of having effective policies. So relating to decarbonization and to working and also working on more guidelines. We're actually working on that to relating to energy efficiencies, renewable energies, to enhance our workflow. So next, let's not forget to mention that also FGV is also, make a commitment, when I mentioned, to actually achieve net zero by 2050. So for the technical details and efforts, I will hand over to my colleague, Fazil.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gideon. All right. Okay, let me elaborate. I think a little bit on the technical aspect, as my colleague have already touched on the previous two aspects. Okay, I think for the technical category, I think as I've deliberated earlier, we already have a vibrant, diverse portfolio of projects that already significantly contributes to the reduction of the carbon emission that we produce from the mills actually. Okay, so biomass has already is the main power source is the construction of the mills, because it is already circular in its operation, because as I've mentioned before, we are already a power island because we are situated very far from grid, and also from because back when we start up like 30 or 40 years before, so there's not much population over there, so it's a kind of very remote area. So it's that we need to generate our own power, and so we utilize everything that already produced by the mill to generate our own power, and mainly in electricity and also steam to process our products. Okay, so this carbon management aware circularity is already inbuilt within the design of the processing facilities. This is particularly true in all the palm oil mills that we have. Additionally, like any other environmentally conscious company, we also report the emission reduction with strict guidelines to our annual integrated report, and I think it's very accessible. Or you can check it online in our website. We are also now embarking on potential projects. If we go back to the technical, it means project implementation. Okay, on the potential project on our greenfield mills, in which the greenfield is termed for the mills that have no carbon capture or existing renewable energy projects. Okay, to further strengthen our decarbonization efforts and also achieve our annual net zero targets with multiple parties. Okay, so we particularly now we focus on the biomethane projects to tackle the huge carbon emission from Pome. I think this is a very scope 1 emission that we really need to tackle. Okay, we must put the first priority on that. And also we also look at the renewable pellets from empty fruit bunches, which has now a really high potential of economic viability due to spike of interest from energy companies, because they are now switching from traditional grey energy. They're using natural gas and coal, and they want to complement that, and also to try to get some emission reduction. So they want to use some of renewable fuel that available in the market, and in which this EFB pellet is one of the fuel that they are looking at. Okay, and we are also optimizing our roof space by installing rooftop grid connected photovoltaic and also rooftop solar on our facilities as well. So this will further reduce our carbon footprint from fossil generated energy in our facilities. Okay, I think more or less I addressed. Can we go back to Dr. Loh?
Yeah. So the next question will be directed to all the panelists. So we start with Dr. Ho and then Dr. Tan and Fazil. So what is your take on potential contributions of oil palm biomass in the challenging years to come, considering there's a various aspect of technical potential exists, and also we also highlight the biomass important roles in energy transition. So what is your take? Whether we should focus on bioenergy, biopellets, or biopower, biomaterials, or even any other bioproducts as mentioned by Dr. Ho just now.
Thank you, Dr. Loh. In my opinion, we really should try to explore and see how we can actually diversify. Because at the moment, in terms of the technology for more advanced stuff, I think there's a lot of bottleneck yet, a lot of challenges that we foresee. But one thing that I foresee is that there have been more and more commercialization effort of biomaterial, for example, using the cellulose nano gel or cellulose nano fiber in order to create materials like plastic packaging, for example. These are getting a bit more common now, I would say. I definitely think that we should try to diversify along the way, but from my perspective as a scientist, I think that the key to unlocking, to solving a lot of these technological issue is still in trying to understand the structure of biomass, and at the very, very fundamental level. If we can solve this, if we can understand it and understand the governing principles, the impact would be very widespread in terms of generating all the other products. Yep, that is just my view. Thank you.
Thanks. Dr. Tan, please.
Okay, sure, Dr. Loh. So, as mentioned earlier, I think Dr. just mentioned earlier about the 4F and 1C, right? I think like the food, feed, fiber, fuel, and also chemical. So
maybe more.
Yeah, maybe more like what Dr. Ho was mentioning. So depends on the research moving forward. So I think for this careful strategy for this is important for bioenergy. I touched on bioenergy because there are multiple challenging variables to work on, such as the diversity of the source. You see, because it's from plant-based, you see, so there might be a variance. So let's not also forget that biomasses are actually also a derivative of plant, and hence also subjected to the fluctuation based on the challenges faced by agriculture products, such as the quality of the feedstock, which is in turn influenced by the price of the commodity, the fertilization rounds, the weather, the labor, government policies, and even the market at large. Okay. So based on the utilization pathway, right, the 4F and 1C or maybe more, they are actually dependent on a few factors. Firstly, I would say is technology readiness. So in other words, is the relevant technology available to the market, and not only available, but at an affordable price. That's very crucial. Okay. For instance, biogas or bio-CNG or biomass power plant technology actually has been in place for some time. And the maturity of the technology is reasonably applicable. I won't say perfect, but it's reasonably applicable. Secondly, the market demand, which include the size and the offtake price. So that's also crucial, because we need to know how much people are going to offer us, what is the size of the market. Then people will just, went into it. So this can be influenced by government decarbonization policies, and also the premium that the off-takers are willing to pay for green feedstock. Because if we are being paid the same amount, let's say, on gas and all that, then it's a bit difficult, because comparing with fossil fuel and all that, they are in larger quantity. Ours is in smaller quantity and it's more decentralized. So probably something in situ generation will be more suitable. Just some cases. All this will determine if a certain pathway, what I mentioned earlier on, is economically viable. So thirdly, on sustainability aspect, right, by converting biomass to a certain product creates more carbon emission. If let's say when you convert certain biomass to a certain product, so actually it leads to more carbon emission along the way, let's say in logistic and all that. Then maybe we need to rethink the whole process, because it's not about the end product only, it's about the whole value chain itself. So because we do not want to actually fall into the greenwashing trap, okay, just by looking good on the surface, but we achieve much less desired reality. So that's my view. Okay, back to Dr. Loh.
Encik Fazil, do you have any things to add?
Okay, I would also like to compliment what Dr. Gideon has already shared before. So is that just to give an example, for instance, the palm oil mill that's not near to any transmission line. So this means feeding to electricity generating from our biogas power plant to the grid is not really feasible because of the very high cost and also investment needed to come up with the transmission line to get to the any nearest grid that you can have access into. So other possible solution that is we will go for bio-CNG or virtual pipeline, meaning tracking of the product to the desired customers. For another instance, if there is additional processes within the mill that require more power, so self-consumption of the electricity or heat generated in the in situ might be opted as a rational choice, in which I think we also take a lot of focus into. And also I think in all there is no really a single solution to address power pump biomass in terms of its utilization, but we can't deny its huge potential to be leveraged. It's all about I think strike a balance between the investment and also the suitability of the technology application, in which some mills or some company might have several or different policies, so that it might affect their the translation of initiative into the ground. All right. So back to Dr. Loh.
Okay, Encik Fazil, so my next question may be to you also, since you are the one actually embarking on the bio-CNG. So I would like to ask, since natural gas is increasingly being regarded as a bridging fuel within the energy transition stage, alternative to coal and oil, and since FGV has also embarked on bio-CNG and successfully commercialized and launched the first commercial plants using palm oil mill effort in 2015. So what is your plan in the future in this area? Or Dr. Tan later can also add on.
Sorry. All right. Actually, for the bio-CNG, we have quite a plan for it, because of as of now, comparing with feed in tariff project, we already done some very detailed study for all of our mills. So it's that not all of the mills are easily connected to the grid, in which for the most of our mills is already situated in the rural area. So there's a challenge to get the mill to the closest transmission line, in which just for a rule of thumb, you want to do a feed in tariff, any facility or installation that you've done in the mill, if you have more than 5 to 7 kilometers of distance to the nearest grid, I think the project is already a no-go, because a huge capex to be invested just for the transmission line. So that is the limitation of the feed in tariff project. So is that we are now looking at other avenue, that is why biomethane or bio-CNG is much more, I think, more or less like a desirable output or the end game that we are focusing as of now. So for this kind of project, we are open to collaborate with any off-takers that already have heavy interest, or they already have something in mind to switch their fuel from a grey natural gas. Natural gas is based from fossil fuel to the renewable biomethane source, in which from bio-CNG plant that we have now, the source is renewable, is 100% is coming from Pome. So there is no mixing or whatever is coming from the grey. So it's that from there you can actually enjoy more or less the same. Because if you put in 2 canister in front of you, put it on the table, one is natural gas from the fossil fuel base, and also one is from renewable source, you already more or less demonstrated that you can't really which one is the renewable, which one, because the specs, the specification, the quality is always is more the same. Okay, and also we already proven that with Sungai Tinggi biomethane plant, in which we are the pioneer of it. And also we are also proud to say is that because of this plant, there's a lot of people came over and to learn as well, because this project also we are collaboration with FPOB, so it's like a startup for like a demonstration plan for others to see and also replicate and also do it at their own place. There is the collaboration with FPOB is something that we are really proud of what we have done. Okay. And I think more or less in the way forward, I think we are ready to work with any off-takers, particularly all the people in oil and gas industries, if you have any plans to convert or you can utilize the bio-CNG, biomethane into your process line, I think we are open to talk and also to work something out. All right, thanks.
Okay, Dr. Tan, I do think that you would agree with what Encik Fazil said, right? So yeah, so I would like to proceed with my next question, which is more appropriate to you. So considering one important role of FGV in organizing smallholders, yeah. So to what extent those bioenergy endeavors so far has actually contributed to poverty alleviation? Would there be any synergistic partnership or any transformational change in such a bioenergy deployment?
Okay, I get that. So actually, if you've been listening to, if all of us have been listening to Fazil, right? He has actually embedded some of it inside his slide just now. Okay, so I'll elaborate a little bit on that. Yeah. So actually, FGV is quite proud to share the story of Umas Biogas lah, if you can recall that just now, and also IPP Sahabat in Ladar too. So that is actually, if you look at Sabah map, right, it's at the tip. Okay, so but although it's at the tip, it's quite big. It's the size of I think the state of Malacca. Okay, about 100,000 hectares. So both of these facilities that we have actually produces clean renewable energy to local population which has no access to national grid, meaning at the Sabah state. So we also prioritize competent local person to be employed. Not just local person, but we train them also in the plant for various positions. So not only that, in the case that we provide them clean energy, we also provide them, work opportunities, so to say. So there are various positions that we offer them, like for example, at the boiler, we have a boilerman, we have engine operators, we have chargemans, engineers, safety officers, even plant managers. Okay. So adequate training is also given to ensure that they are competent and fit for the work. So with the combined employment of more than 100 old people in just of these two plants, that doesn't mean that we are limited to that. We also have other facilities like refineries and all that, which we also employ, but I'm just focusing only on the RE sides. We hope that we can make an impact to the livelihood of the local communities. And moving forward, we are also actually working with government agencies in the light of FELDA, to expand the transmission line in the interior to increase the generations. Besides, we're also looking at the possibilities of having clean energy source from solar farm as well, okay, just evaluating, and also from bio-based fuel, for the genset, because genset now is running on diesel, right? So maybe if, co-firing, a different fuel compared to what we have, we are operating now to further reduce our GHG emission. Okay, back to Dr. Loh. Thanks.
Okay. So before we end this panel discussion, I would like to ask one last very important question. In your opinion, is carbon market real? Is it the way forward? So probably, Dr. Ho, you can respond first.
Thank you, Dr. Loh. The carbon market has been the topic of discussion for quite some time already. But in my personal opinion, I still think that unless there's a way to enforce it, to monitor it, it's going to be a little bit challenging to implement successfully in terms of the monitoring. I think that is more critical. If someone say that I have this much amount that I can emit, but who's going to actually go and monitor it and so on? So I feel that the concept is an interesting one. It probably is needed to actually move forward to create a more sustainable world. But as with any concept like this, I think the implementation part, there has to be a strong will to actually implement, monitor it, which we also do not know how much is going to actually cost, extra cost in doing all those things. So that's just my opinion. Yeah, back to you.
Okay, Dr. Tan.
Okay, for me, my opinion is that actually, I agree with what Dr. Ho was saying just now. So we need a monitoring system. That's why I think we are not there yet, but we are going towards that kind of direction. So the carbon market actually for me is real. I mean, you can see even online, many countries have their own carbon exchange, with differing carbon prices. And not to mention, actually, FGV enter into this RE thing. even before the time when we have this CDM, okay, Clean Development Mechanism. So that is something like the carbon pricing those days. Today we repackage it. And then currently in Malaysia, right, Bursa Malaysia is energy managing the voluntary carbon market. We call them VCM on Bursa Carbon Exchange Platform, which is also termed as BCX. Okay, so we understand that Climate Change Act, okay, will be launched soon. All right, but we don't know when yet. So this will include carbon tax, which we believe will be a push to the industry to embark on carbon reduction initiative and projects to further meet the NDC okay, the national NDC. Okay, that's the point of view. Thanks.
There's also currently in talk of this renewable energy certification REC, which actually refer to the biogas or biomass-based electricity that can be replaced the fossil-based grid electricity. So do bear in mind all this development. Encik Fazil, have any other things to add on?
Yep. Especially on this carbon market, I think I would agree with Dr. Gideon. I think we've been also to talks held by BCX, and so more or less we on the surface we understand what our government is trying to do is to introduce this carbon market for any producers that are interested to trade their carbon, and so for the off-taker to buy the carbon to to cut down their emission. Okay, but I think looking back several years before, we already seen the demise of CDM project, in which it's been touted as one of the things to go back then, more than 10 years before. So I hope that current initiative, also current introduced by the government will not reflect the same way as how CDM fared many years ago. So it's actually one of the good things if you were to drive the decarbonization effort. Is like a platform that is being set up by the government. Is is up for the offtake, up for the market to really utilize that. But also one of the things that to be mindful as well, because I think we FGV, Dr. Gideon, we are NZC organization in which we already made pledge to net zero. So it's that for us, I think we will track this issue carefully, because once we sell our carbon, we lose that amount, and so we need to seek other, because from our commitment we need to reduce like 4.7% of our carbon emission from the baseline from the year before. So is that if we trade all of it, so we need to see additional CR reductions to complement that has been already so. So that is still in our deliberation and also a decision. Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Okay, so we are done with our panel discussion. So now I would like to proceed to Q&A sections from the audience. I understand there are a lot of questions posted, so we might not be able to answer all questions. And so, yeah, bear with us for a while before the sections end. My first Q&A to the panel, Encik Fazil, is please explain in more details FGV's CCS project, carbon capture and storage. Do you have?
CCUS, I think Gideon, can you take on this one? I think he's more.
We do understand the CCUS is one of the pillars under NETR. Okay, but currently for FGV, right, because under that NETR, actually we are in quite a few pillars. If you look at EE, right, energy efficiency, we are there. You look at renewable energy, we are there. We are embarking on the rooftop solar and also bioenergy, green mobility, hydrogen, and alongside the CCUS, right, we are still evaluating, because if you look at CCUS as a whole, right, you need facilities to do that. I believe this is my personal view oil and gas are easier that because they have the infrastructure, but for FGV we are not doing drilling, so we are more on land. So to bury it underneath the ground, right, we need facilities. So currently I must say that we are not there yet, but we are evaluating to see the possibility. Not to say we won't get into it. Okay.
Yeah, everything is possible, right? Okay. So now to Dr. Ho, is there any other cellular pathway via fermentation or anaerobic breakdown outcome apart from sugars, glucose, that can be correlated to biogas production?
Thank you, Dr. Loh. So if you want to talk about the pathway that we can use to generate products, then we must first understand that biomass itself, what are the major constituents of biomass? Inside, we have cellulose, which is a linear chain polymer. We have a hemicellulose, right? And then we also have lignin. So we cannot run away from all this. But as far as if we talk about cellulose and hemicellulose, I am pretty sure that xylose and glucose is part of the raw material that can enter into a cell's metabolic pathway. And in fact, they can either be complementary pathway or they can be competing pathway, in the sense that when a cell is being confronted with different sugar, different material that they can actually eat. It's like you can take ice cream, you can take rice, you can also feed your metabolism. So when the microbe is actually confronted with different sources of this biomass-derived fermentable material, then the question is, which one would they prefer to consume first, and what will be produced first? And what we're trying to do is to actually understand how these things compete when they enter their pathway, and how we can actually manipulate the pathway in order to steer the production towards what we desire. So that's my opinion. Yep.
Okay, to Dr. Tan again, yeah. So NETR envisage 70% RE for power generation by 2050. But this will not equate to 70% energy generation, since the bulk of the RE will be from solar PV. I think this is everybody know about, PV, which is actually much easier to be implemented. So shouldn't Malaysia review this strategy target? Just for your information, just now when I briefed in the first slides, I think under the NETR, the transitional fuel is natural gas. So natural gas will be up till like 56%. And collectively, solar, biomass, biogas, and hydro will only make up about 23%, as envisaged by the government by 2050. So probably, yeah, the jump is from natural gas, not on PV actually. Yeah, Dr. Tan.
Yeah.
Pass to you. Yeah.
So I think it's true. I think it's good that this is mentioned, because actually 70% generation means the build capacity, and the actual capacity is very different. Usually we understand that. That's number one. That's correct. Number two, I was in the ST dialogue talk as well. So they were mentioning about gas. Even gas, the Dr. Loh that you mentioned just now, they said up to, I can't remember which year now, up to a certain years, right, we do not have enough. So we need to actually import, okay, from pipeline gas overseas. So that one also, like, I think our government is trying to work on that through ST and all that. Talking about the solar, right, it is true that there are a lot of more players in solar than bioenergy, because one of the challenge, I would say, for bioenergy and biomass especially, is actually to lock in the long-term contract. Okay, so because a lot of companies do not have the feedstock, okay, they want to do it, but they don't have the feedstock. So the leading companies that can do that, actually, they own that feedstock. So one thing I would say to move forward with all this, right, actually, is to have maybe, I think the coming National Biomass Conference, right, probably you'll discuss more on that lah. So to have like collection centers so you can pool together. So I think that is more feasible lah. Okay, and I do agree. I think one of the consultancy report mentioned that biomass can go up, I think the maximum of 1 or 2 gigawatt. That's the level. But for solar, now they're opening up to 6 gigawatt, So from that itself, you can see is a larger one. Although, they mentioned that when you move up to that, because they were sharing a map on the nodes that, they are able to inject 500 megawatt solar, and smaller one like 10 to 30 megawatts. But for all this, we understand that they are VRE. I don't talk about wind because Malaysia don't have much winds. But for our solar, we are talking a bit as a VRE, variable renewable energy, compared to biomass, which is quite stable because it's just based on your feedstock actually. Of course, it fluctuates. So having said that, right, I think for solar, the thing is that when you move up to 6 gigawatt, you need to have battery, because if not, it's not stable, okay, for the grid. But for biomass, the current limitation, like what I mentioned just now, number one is the feedstocks availability and also long-term contract. Number two will be actually the total, what do you call that, feedstock that we have in size. Okay, so those are the two things I look at it lah. But definitely, we also need to bring in the rest lah, biogas like what you mentioned just now, all that to fit inside lah. So that's what I can say for this point. Definitely, it's not adequate lah at this moment of time. So we are looking into ways not only for FGV side, not only for Malaysia side. I think they are also looking into ways to import lah more of this, even the transition gas that you mentioned. Thanks.
Okay, the next to Fazil again. So are your biomass renewable energy project contributing to the profitability of FGV at present? You have 23 biogas plants, a few biomass cogeneration plants, and also 1 bio-CNG plant. So are all these profitable?
Okay. Firstly, I mean, to really delve into the issue of profitability in renewable energy project, I think more or less it encompasses. It's not even bioenergy. It's also, you know, questions about other type of renewable energy as well, such as solar, and also wind, hydro, and also geothermal. But I think from our side is that FGV, how we approach the profitability is that always that before the project execution, we must do very thorough analysis, financial analysis, and also financial modeling to see is that if the project is much more, is it doable in terms of ROI and IRR. It's more or less like the same approach that even you whatever project you've taken includes renewable energy lah. But for our approach FGV is that because for all these projects that I mentioned before, the early project that is the first of its kind, we reduce the risk by, I mean, working with the government. I mean, for example, is the bio CNG. We work closely with BOB, in which we also enjoy some, monetary grants from the government, in which we will lessen the risk that we have, because actually at that time we are the first to do it, and also there is no other reference plant in the world to refer to, in which if you refer to the pump-based biomass. So it's that after we do that, and also if other people want to venture on it, they already can learn from our experience, and also from that there's already risk mitigated because they know already how we operate and everything. So it's that the first thing is that for an groundbreaking or first of its kind project, you need to work with government to have some sort of like a cushion for us in terms of monetary impact, in terms of government grants, and also tax allowance for that kind of projects. And also other projects such as FIT, the return is I would say it's not on losses, but it's still profitable, but it's not as big as our other business unit, in which we are in the commercial business unit, because I think we have to put in mind that when you do renewable energy project, you will not do it solely for profitability, but also you have to do it for sustainability, in terms of you can minimize your impact of the of your activity. Say like for example, biogas in palm oil mill, we have anaerobic stage ponds that emits a lot of methane to the air. So methane is 38 times more polluting than CO2. So that what we do is we cover it and we utilize it, and also to hinder it from escape to the air. So is that from there we can also minimize the harmful impact from generating from our activity, and also additionally can also get some profit.
Okay, yeah, so this will be the last question to Dr. Ho for this Q&A section. Any findings on the economically sustainability of a plant focusing on a single waste instead of multiple waste?
Thank you, Dr. Loh. As far as this is concerned, there are tons and tons of papers written on blending this energy source and that energy source. But I don't know whether I should say unfortunately, these are more academic than being industry relevant, because what they do is they postulate a very hypothetical scenario whereby they can blend this and blend that, and then they say that at the end of the day, if I do this to my equipment, I change this, I would result in a more economically viable plant by blending different energy sources. But my personal opinion is that the people who work on this area of research should really engage with the industry players to understand what are the real constraints that they are experiencing in order to work out a more convincing solution. There are tons of papers, but my opinion is that they need to really work with the industry players in order to have a more convincing solution, because this is different from the hardcore sciences. Hardcore sciences, when we discover something, it is something that we discovered. But this sort of optimization, economic optimization, there is being affected by tons of different factors that sometimes are even beyond our control. So I think that perhaps I hope to see that more collaboration is in this space where they can actually do something that benefits the industry. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
I think can I chip in a bit?
Yeah.
I think excellent explanation for Dr. Ho. I think from our perspective as an industry player, I think more or less the single kind of feedstock or one kind of feedstock is already, I think, is more than the processing unit can handle, because of if you put in multi feedstock into one kind of processing facility, different kind of feedstock needs different kind of pretreatment. So it's that if you don't have the scale of, economy of scale to do it, I think it's better stick to one kind of pretreatment, because it's really diverse. Even if you compare from the oil palm itself, biomass from trunk is completely different from the empty fruit bunch, and you have to apply a different kind of pretreatment technologies to prepare the feedstock before you go for next kind of treatment to produce what kind of product they want to produce. But there are also some kind of like a solution in which for biogas power plant as well, you can also put in as well as pomade, you can also put in decanter cake. It's also one kind of waste from the mill, in which can also boost up the biogas production. And that also is like no single, like it depends always on the situation, also the readiness of the technology. Yeah.
Okay, so multiple production is the key, and technology integrations. Okay, so lastly, I would like to give the floor to each of the panel again, the last chance for them to provide 1 to 2 minutes of take-home message. So Dr. Ho, Dr. Tan, and then Fazil, please.
Okay, thank you again, Dr. Law. I've been saying this many times today. So I personally think that today it opened my eye to see what the FGV is doing. And I hope that as a collective effort for us to go towards a more sustainable future, we can see more of research environment and collaboration with the industry to actually help to solve more practical problem moving forward, right? We should combine fundamental and application together and make sure that we excel in both the fundamental and the application science. That's my conclusion, right? Thank you.
For myself, my dream, I would say, or hope, is for more people to understand and know, the potential of these biomasses, and also, with regards to not only renewable energy and to all, other applications, so that, more collaboration can be done, like what Dr. Ho mentioned just now, not only just academic, also with industry, but also to the public, so that we are aware, because these are energy that is embedded there already, okay, that's within the biomasses. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gideon. And also, I think on behalf of FGV, I would like to really thank all of the attendees in the online session for your very patient with us. And also, I'm very proud. Also, together with Dr. Gideon, we are very proud to share what our initiative is. And of course, in the future, we already have planning on what to do, and hopefully we can execute it, turn it from the paper into the ground, actual execution. So that to take more of the CO2 reduction, we must reduce the carbon emission from our scope 1, scope 2. And furthermore, scope 3 is even more challenging. All right. And also, I would like also to say special thanks to our group CEO, Dr. Nazrul, and also CEO of FGV Palm Industries, Cik Abdul Malik Sekar, for sponsoring and also acknowledging and allow us to be in this effort. And so special thanks to you guys, and also thanks to Dr. Loh and so Dr. Ho for together with us, to sharing our journey. Thanks again.
So, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause to all our speakers, for the insightful sharing and also the knowledge that we have learned. So, ladies and gentlemen, now the section has ended. So, I would like to pass the floor back to our Miss MC Mohana. Yeah.
A big thank you, Dr. Loh, for moderating such an in-depth discussion on the many ways biomass is being well used in generating renewable energy. And also a very big thank you to our learned panelists of the day. I'm confident that our webinar for today has provided our audience with some very valuable insights. Before we end, please assist us in completing the evaluation poll, which will appear on your screen now. Your feedback and comments are most invaluable to us. Once again, we would like to extend our sincere appreciation to FGV Holdings for making this webinar possible. We wish all of you a great week ahead and stay safe. Thank you.